This is JC from Real and Simulated Wars. I'm having a great time playing Marching Eagles Waterloo, a new war game released. It was designed by Paul Bruffell, co-designed by Bill Peters, legendary Bill Peters, from other editions of Panzer campaigns and whatnot. And of course the participation of Scott Hamilton, head honcho of HPS Simulations. The main idea of this video is not to provide a review, because, I would consider it unfair. The game was just released and I have just around 10 hours playing this game. And the idea is just to provide some sort of preview, show you around how it looks, how it feels to play, what are the main mechanics, which are a bit particular and you may be interested to learn about it. So in that spirit, let's go into the battlefield. I'm going to click on the new battle, and as you can see, the menu of battles is quite varied. You have a lot of options here and what ifs. You have a Waterloo battle, you have Ligny, Waterloo, and one favorite of mine, which is Wavre. And well, there are also what if scenarios, which I didn't touch yet. I just want to get acquainted very well with the game system, and I'm gonna load the scenario. Right there you will be faced with these options. Fog of War. Fog of War is quite simple. It is based on the proximity of the units. The scale of this game doesn't lend itself for line of sight calculations, so it's pretty much what is nearby. If you choose normal, it's gonna be like 2 areas in front. If you choose extreme, it's gonna be just 1 area. I prefer to leave it in normal because I want to have an idea of where the enemy is at, or what else is his hereabouts. Stop clock is just one of those timers that are provided in order to make the player to force him to do his move or put some pressure into it. Fear not, this is a turn-based game, and the stop clock doesn't have too much effect. I'm going to be playing as the French, and these are the meat and potatoes of the options. I'm going to be choosing command control, which means that units, in order to do stuff, they will have to be nearby a commanding unit. And second to that, there is a difficulty level. I don't know what is that about. I honestly didn't read it. It is detailed in the manual, which I barely read. Tactical play enables a layer where the player is allowed to make decisions about the tactics. If they want a frontal attack, a frontal assault, maybe a flank attack, a swarm attack with cavalry, etc., etc. Event cards are, as you may guess, some cards that are withdrawn from a virtual deck, and they represent events. They give you command points, or may delay your reinforcements, etc., etc. I am not a big fan of event cards, but it adds some variability, and I'm gonna leave it on so you can see it in this video. Local initiative will allow the player to give a global order to a certain area and to start combat by themselves in the units. If the units are activated, luckily they will initiate some combat. So I'm going to click that one on, and I'm going to leave Battlefield Smoke too, so you can see what is that about. I am presented with a map and a card, and well, this is what just happened. Not a lucky card. Apparently Napoleon is suffering some illness, and this is the map. The map, it is I wouldn't say it is X-based, because here's the gig. The main basic unit of terrain is an area which is demarcated by these white borders over here. So each area is a chunk of terrain, which is your minimal unit of terrain. Yes, You can see some X's down there, but I do believe that they're just for effect. I don't know exactly how they play a role, but pretty much the area is an abstract conglomerate chunk of terrain where things do happen, movement and combat and deployment of troops. So in this case we have this area here, and as you can see, it is pretty much open terrain. There are some crops over there in front of Wavra, and maybe it's considered open terrain. Other areas like this one, Wavra South, they're closed terrain, and they have an effect in unit formation and combat, that you will see later. The objectives for today are Limal, Bietje, Wavra, South and North, and of course you have exits over here to Brussels and further to the west. So the units are represented by these icons. The icons are pretty much showing a background color, which depends on the nationality. We're commanding the French, so our light blue, it is the background for the counters for our units. In the case of the Prussians, you have this gray background, which is very apt and very great. You are shown also the flag of the side, very, very, evidently they are in your face. They may look a bit overdone at this point, but as you will see if you play the game, when you're playing one of the bigger battles like Waterloo, it will become evident that they're a great aid. Besides that, the background color also changes depending on what the units are done. So that being said, I want to clarify something that it will make your life easier when you start playing this game. Forget about the X's underline that are within an area. Everything happens within an area, and that's pretty much it. So if you select one area here, you will see that this area has 3 units: the 34th Regiment, the 88th Regiment of the 10th Infantry Division, and also you have an artillery company. And the relative position of these units within an area means absolutely nothing. Just think as an area, an old board game area game. It means that the units are in this area, period. Don't think that this unit, for instance, the one that I'm pointing it right now, don't think that this one is in the north, this one is in the center, and this one is in the south. Nothing to do with that. Actually, the only thing that matters for the purposes of this game, it is the order that the units do have within an area in this vertical arrangement. You will see that unit number 1 is always the unit that is at the forefront, and unit number 2, 3, and it's that's maximum stacking limit. On units 2 and 3, they are flankers, or they are support units that are not in the forefront. The order of the units can be switched using this button right here. You will have to click on an area and use this button that says rotate, which is very confusing because there is not a rotation of the unit itself. It is just a rotation in the order. You're sending one to the back and forth. So for instance, we know that the 34th is at the front and the 88 is a flanker or supporting unit or reserve unit. So if we choose the 2 of them, we'll get this arrangement where we have now the 88 at forefront. This is very useful because many times your unit, of course, that is at the forefront will suffer some losses, some disorganization, some loss in morale, etc., and you will have to take care of that, taking it off the line and replacing with a fresh unit so you can push through. The counters are very nice. They have very nice artwork here. And as you can see, each unit, it is a regiment. And let's see if we can find there are another units which are brigades. I really would have well, I don't think it is necessary because pretty much everything is roughly the same size. You have in these counters the strength description. It actually refers, according to the manual, roughly a strength of 3 means something around 3 battalions. Not exactly like that, so it's a game that is not counting every head, but it's not leaving you with that impression of other war games where you have like, you know, points or hit points or something like that. It's you know, in the middle, a happy middle, I would say. And you have other descriptions also in the counters. You have the formation. In this case, you have a line formation for both of them. You have the unit order, and you have the weapon, the resupply status over there, and a small description. LI means for this in this case line infantry. And here you see an A, which is for artillery. Another area. In this area we have we have a brigade here. As you can see, it has a strength of 6, so it probably has around 6 battalions, which is a unit that has a lot of punch power combined with artillery. This is gonna be great to take this unit into the field. And of course you have the commanders, and for the commanders you can you will have first to select them. That's also something very particular to this engine, that when you click on an area you are shown the menu of the units that are there, but you need to click into each and you will see that star coming up. That means that the unit, it is selected. So in this case I'm selecting this General Van Damme, and with this button you can show the command radius which is quite generous, I would say. I would say that it's, you know, a fair amount of terrain that this guy can cover. We're going to send him to the north, probably, to take care of the right flank or the north flank. And that's we will start the festivities here in the city of Wavra. The game mechanics is a turn-based war game. Half an hour each turn. Basic units are regiments and or brigades, which is roughly in the same. The game is based in areas for terrain. You have axes, but I actually don't know what is the exact role of this axis underlying this. I am left with the impression after playing this game that some things are happening under the hood and are not necessarily shared with the player. I can feel it, but I'm not able to elaborate at this time. So alright, so I want to start making our movements and seeing what happens. A very important consideration in this game, it is to know or to guess, because there is not a descriptor, of the type of terrain that each area covers. Like for instance here you will see a terrain where it is mostly open. You have a road over here, and you have some hills, but pretty much it's open. You have other areas like here in the town of Biecie, where of course it is a town and is considered closed terrain. Units moving here will lose their formation because they will start house to house firing, and that's a very nice touch. Areas like forests, like this one, or maybe even that one in the north over there, are considered close terrain too. But in the case of this scenario, you have that the main objectives are actually close terrain, which is fine, it is good, and we'll try to live with it. This was in reality a very hard fought battle. You may remember back in the old days of my old blog, I used to have a presentation there of, I don't remember if it was a video or just a screenshot session, where I was showing the same battle using another 3D engine that was pretty cool, and the outcome was, you get the same feeling that these crossing this bridge and everybody bunching up in this terrain was kind of a dreadful premise for everybody, and I think that was cool. I believe I played as the Prussians, but anyway, in this case we're going to start moving our troops around, and I'm gonna ask this troop. You see, you may, I keep clicking into the icon, but actually you can click anywhere and the units will appear. It is only when you click on one of them that the unit will be selected to do whatever it has to do. And right now we are offered all these pieces of terrain where the unit can move. The units do have action points, and this movement is going to cost the unit an action point. If you see, my initial reaction was like, oh my god, one action point only. But given that each area is so big, roughly covering around, I don't know, 500, 700 meters of wide, and the same for the length, it is quite a generous allowance for things, for units to do their thing, and for actual combat to happen. So I'm gonna just move it over here. One thing I want you to notice is that the unit is now in a line formation, but as soon as I ask it to move towards it, it has lost the formation. This icon here, this yellow thing, which you can see also when you do a flyby, right there you see the formation, and all these little red dots means that the unit has no formation at all at this point, which makes sense because of as I mentioned before, in the town the units do have to split, and maybe down to a couple of people, teams to deal with house-to-house combat. I think it is a great touch from Paul to do that. So another thing, again, I have to repeat this. This unit showing up here doesn't mean that this is occupying exactly that specific corner of the town of Wavra. It doesn't mean anything. It is just a place. Remember, all these units are in the same area, so the engine or the game system is abstracting their position. It is assumed that they're deployed properly and sensibly. It's not your problem, dude, to figure it out that. It is just that they are in the area, and I do believe that this adds to a lot of simplicity, but is still keeping elegance, because many things are still being considered, and it is great. But it may be confusing for some people. They may think that this unit is facing this one, and actually, as you will see, the Prussians that they're facing are this one here, which doesn't mean so. Areas are just a bag where things are mixed properly and organized and tidied up by the game engine. I'm also going to move another regiment over there. Remember, I have to select it. Whoa, what happened? You have to select it before anything happens. And again, when I move, you can click anywhere in that area, or even you can go to North Wavra if that's your thing. And I haven't tried that, so why don't we just do that, so we can contest both objectives directly. The strength is not great, I would prefer to clear Wavra before anything happens, but we have only 6 hours to do this, so probably it's gonna take more than that. But just for demonstration purposes, let's move the 34th Regiment to North Wavra over there, and there you go, boom, it appeared in the area. Again, this specific location doesn't mean anything, it's just where the unit goes. It is shown, but this actually doesn't mean that the unit is specifically to the east. Doesn't mean specifically that the unit is somewhere and it is facing this other guy over there. So then we also have artillery units like this one here. I'm not going to make the mistake of clicking on the icon, but I'm going to click on the area only and it will select itself. And I don't know if to put this unit into Wavra or just leave it around in this area where probably it can support both. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cross it through the bridge and see what happens. Let's move. And we have this general here, Hubert. His command radius is quite limited to this side of the river, of the Dule or the Dial. I don't know how to pronounce that. So we're going to cross this guy, this general, into the Wavra area, so he can provide better command and control of the units that are right there. You see, his command radius has now been upgraded into that. And we have these artillery units that I was mentioning. I will use them in the next turn. Actually, this particular two, the thing that I want to do, I want to move them close to Wavra so they can better provide support. And then of course we will start moving our other units so we can start our offensive properly. So I'm gonna move this general, and we have these cavalry units, these dragoons. We're going to take them on the right flank. We're moving them into that area. Remember, select the area, select the unit, select the area, and in this case is right click, and they will happily obey your orders. And that ping, which is very windowy and operating system sound effect, indicates that we are out of command points. Oh, there it goes again. It's kind of like ping, irritating. We're out of command points, which is it's a very nice decision to add this, so you don't have unlimited power to move all your units. You better choose your points of main effort correctly and use the command points right there, because otherwise you may be spending them into some sideline action. This is a great mechanic. It's not, by no means it is an invention that has appeared here. It is kind of common use, but it's a very nice thing to have. So right now we're going to click on next turn, and the thing will start happening. Then you have, the combat starts before the turn goes into the Prussians, and we have here our first combat action right there. This is the tactics panel. This is where tactical gameplay, the tactical gameplay option that we chose at the beginning of the scenario comes in handy. If you don't tick it, you are not given this option. In this case we are. So you can choose from several different things. Yeah, I do believe the text is self-explanatory, but I have noticed that this has a profound effect on how things go down into specific areas when it comes to combat, so you better choose very, very carefully. So I have no idea, so I'm gonna just click on bombard because I have an artillery unit and I want to use it right there. So there it goes. And I do believe that no results are shown for each combat because I have Fog of War activated. Now is the turn of the Prussians, and they're showing bombardment in every different points, and we have the command report. Which is great. We have reinforcements, and we have Napoleon coming in, which adds to our collection of command points. So our reinforcements, unfortunately, are going to stay there. You see they are grayed out, which means that they don't have any action points. The reason they don't have any action points, it is because I suppose they are not covered by any type of general nearby, because we have our generals busy doing something else. So we'll have to clarify that and provide a better command arrangement structure. So let's go directly into Wavra, where the main things are happening, just to make sure that the forefront unit, it is still doing its thing. The formation, of course, is no formation because there is house-to-house combat, and we have all these units right there. In this case, we have just one, and everything appears to be stable, but we'll have to start our offensive as soon as possible. So one thing that I will do right now, it is to open the artillery dialog box, and you will be shown here of all the artillery available units. I'm going to choose this one, select fire, and you will be shown with areas where this artillery unit can fire to. I think that I wish that it would have been a bit more explanatory or highlighty or flashy, I don't know. It is, if I choose that one in the dialogue, that it would actually show me where that unit is located. There is a locate button, but it will actually, it works in both ways, so I will have to take that back. But right now I have the feeling that the unit firing is going to be either these two, because you know there is a gray area. The artillery units cannot fire on their same area, I suppose, so they can fire over all these. Of course, these are friendly occupied areas, no problem there, but I'm gonna take on Wavra. Fire! A very nice, satisfying sound. Let's repeat the cycle. And then we have the 7th firing right now. Fire! We don't know the effect that that thing had, but we are going to assume that we're doing some damage either in an organization or something else. So you have other units which are available, and we're going to start shooting with them. This one, I believe it is either the 7th or what? The 7th and the 1st. Wow, I have no idea, but anyway, the areas that are available for bombardment are either empty or have friendly troops, so cannot be used. And if you choose the 4th, the 4th is so far back down there that it cannot shoot anything of value. So I'm going to cancel all the artillery, and that took me a while to figure it out, that you know you get stuck in that artillery mode and it actually doesn't come back until you go and click it again and select cancel, so you're not bothered anymore by that. So took me a little while to figure it out, but not a big problem. All right, so we're going to start moving these cavalry units on our right flank, and I'm gonna move the general Actually, we have only 2 generals, but I do believe that the right flank, it is quite important, so we're going to move this guy over there. And that being said, we'll start crossing the dragoons into the other side of the Deal River. And this guy I'm gonna leave here. I don't want to put it into contact with the enemy. And I'm gonna move these guys while I can, so I have all my dragoons in a good place to start with. And well, as for the left flank, right now I am lacking some generals, and unless I receive some reinforcements, I will be left with you know, just these units, which I will move. We're going to cross in front of Brigade and then try to do a double envelopment, but you won't be able to see this because this video otherwise will become too long. I'm gonna move this artillery unit, and I have 0 command points right now, as you can see on the top, so I'm gonna click again and I'm gonna advance the turn. And I forgot to show you some other important things. Oh, this action right here, these tactics, do refer to what is happening in this area. It is highlighted there, and we're going to do a swarm attack. And we are suffering some losses here, either in organization, morale, or strength for this other regiment, which is a bit strange. Now is the turn of the Prussians. They are bombarding. This is a report, and we have reinforcements. Oh, we have a general now. Who is that guy? Oh, guess who showed up? Look at this guy. Grouchy or Grouchy. How do you pronounce that? Pardon my French, gentlemen. And there is something that I wanted to show you right here. If you right click into each unit, you will see a description and a status report of each of the regiments that you have over there. So right now they are still at the strength, but they do have some issues because they are disrupted. You see that D over there, and it's described here as disrupted. So be mindful of that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select them, and just to show you, I'm going to ask them to do a Bayonet Charge. I don't know if this is going to work. Bayonet Charge. I click it on the enemy unit. I click it into this one, but actually that was foolish, because actually I know, because I've seen the animation effects, that this is the forefront unit. So just click in the area and it will do, and it will go directly, because again, doesn't mean that this unit is facing this one. It is, they are in the same area. So let's see what happens with the Bayonet Charge. Yeah, something happened. And wow, there is some loss of strength over there. One thing that I wonder, it is described in the manual, maybe somebody of you can clarify this. It is my unit right here. It is in a no formation status, and I thought that this was due because there was in a town. But these guys, the Prussians, they have the beautiful lines formed. What's up with that? I don't know. And on the other hand, the other thing that I wanted to show you is the smoke effect. The Prussians have been bombarding using their artillery, so the smoke is now covering this area and this area, either because of combat or the bombardments that did happen over there. So this is how the game basically plays, and I hope that this thing is useful. And let's move Field Marshal right there, and I'm gonna ask these units first. Oh, this is something very cool. These ones are in marching formation, a column formation, which means that they can cross bridges without any loss in cohesion or formation, and they can access towns without any type of modification of their formation, and they will not get disorganized because of that. So it's a very useful formation. But right now the dilemma is, which I was not able to resolve yet, is I wanted to cross this little river in good order, but on the other hand they're gonna be immediately in contact with this Prussian regiment right there. So what should I do? So in order to show you how the formations are changed, I'm gonna go there, and well, you have a button here, formation change, and you will see the options that you do have. One thing that this game is very particular about is that you have options that actually you cannot use. Like for instance, this is light infantry. They can do skirmish and recon, which is great, but they cannot do mount and dismount, and still the option is shown there. It's just a minor thing. If I click there, I will be immediately warned about that. Ping! The unit failed to change formation due to unit status, existing formation, or troop type. Yeah. They don't have any horses to mount on, so that's basically what happens. But it would have been a nice touch to have that thing grayed out if the unit cannot do that, and the program knows that I selected it, so just leave it out. And I ask this not because I'm picky and not trying to be some sort of of hard person, but just for many people, we're playing games at 11 p.m. on a work day, and just put your kids to sleep with much effort. You have done the laundry or whatever you have to do, your honey-do list, and you're dead tired, and you say, I want to play a game, and it actually helps a little if you have some easiness of use. The other place where this thing happens too in this game, it is when you're trying to move a unit into an area that it cannot be moved into, because there is a limit of units that you can have in an area. For instance, in this open terrain you can have up to 3, and you're trying to put a 4th, but actually when you click on the 4th unit, the area is shown as available, and then you click on the area and the ping comes out like, ping, no, you cannot move there, moron, because there is a stacking limitation. And I say, wow, I wish you had told me, don't do that, or shade out that area. But anyway, I don't mean to be picky. So let's change formations and let's not get diverted. I'm gonna form I don't know, a line or a skirmish. This unit can do a skirmish because it's light infantry. Order. There we go. I like that. And then we're going to move it over there, and it became disorganized. On the other hand, if I just move this one, you see it didn't lose formation. This is the area that I'm talking about. This one crossed in a skirmish order, got completely disorganized or lost formation, and the other one didn't, which is great, and it is not. But right now, what you can think about it, if you think about it, the idea would be to rotate this unit when they have action points, of course, to rotate them, put this one up front, change the formation of this one, put it up front, or vice versa, because this one is going to get engaged as soon as I click the end turn button. Let's go back to this area and let me show you something that you will like, I'm sure. Cavalry Charge. So you click on that, and then you right click on target. Charge! And you see the enemy unit. The enemy unit has retreated, which is awesome. And now we're going to use this other unit. Oh, which one? This one, which has still action points. And there comes the interesting options at your left when you have a game of this scale. Should you extend your flank protection towards the north, or you should, change your orientation of the attack and just start a very shallow envelopment by trying to turn to the west? I don't know, up to the player. Or you can go into a deep, type of infiltration into the enemy line and move directly into this area. Decisions, which is, adds to the greatness of these war games, and that's why it makes them so interesting to play. So, I don't know what I clicked there, but well, we have opposition, and for these cavalry engagements, you have to be mindful too of their formations. Like, for instance, this unit is in a line formation, and this one is in an echelon formation. Echelon formations are good for flanking, but I don't know how they will fare against a similar cavalry unit. Which, by the way, what is this? Is this a dragoon? No. But eventually, the beauty of the dragoons is that you can actually dismount them and make them fight as infantry in closed terrain. That's a great thing to happen. So that pretty much summarizes what I wanted to show you. I think it is a great design. It has some problems with stability when it comes to the editor. It comes packed with an editor. I was not able to edit anything. It just crashes on me. The interface for that editor is kind of, it will take some time to figure it out. And there you will see the axis as the building blocks of maps. And then, of course, you will have to group them into areas. The design of areas is not trivial, let me tell you. And, well, let's see what people can do with that scenario and map editor. And so far, it is a game that is fun to play. It's very fluid. It just takes a little while to figure it out what the mechanics are, because it is area based, and sometimes the program is not wow, we're suffering some losses here. The program doesn't tell you exactly what is happening, and there is always, the wish that that type of things could be better put out. But I do believe that this one is Napoleonics approved, and Napoleonics ready to get your feet into the Battle of Waterloo each game is relatively fast. Of course, I was slow here. I'm at turn 4, just 1/3 of the scenario, just because I'm narrating and I'm commenting and failing in front of you. But a game usually of this type of size, it will take you 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is great for busy people, for people who have a life besides, you know, the computer and gaming. And relatively stable program too. It crapped on me a couple of times. I do believe that, you know, the window arrangement is kind of strange. Like for instance, you see it doesn't cover the entire screen right there. I have to max it out. Like, wow, look at this. Boo, 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 boo. I don't know what is that. Why is not full screen? And maybe it's just me. I don't have an option here to maximize. And look at this. It's like you pull a curtain, and what is going on there? I don't know. But minor things again. Very good design. I really like it, and I'm gonna be playing, and that's enough for me to give a positive note and a positive vibe on this war game. I hope I didn't bore you to sleep, and I hope to see you in the virtual battlefields sooner than later. So thank you very much for watching.